Hi guys, so if you've watched my videos recently, you'll have noticed I've been painting even more miniatures, and that's because I'm painting loads for, well, war bands for the game Pillage. And if you'd have seen how I paint them, obviously I used to always paint miniatures with the Slapchop technique, as sort of seen on what I'm doing with this little chap here. And that's basically obviously priming miniatures in black, and then doing some dry brushing over the top. Initially I used to do dry brushing with grey and then white, but about a year or two ago, I kind of dropped doing the grey. I just went straight into doing the white. And this works perfectly well. And I say it is great for doing sort of like one miniature, two miniatures, or just a couple. But when you come to do a full warband, and these ones, well, these are the Victrix sets. So I've been doing the Vikings and the Saxons, and they come in sort of packs of about 32 to 36 miniatures. So quite a lot of miniatures. And as you can see, doing the dry brushing technique for all these miniatures is, well, it's not exactly a slow process, but it does take a lot longer than, well, than what I've been doing quite recently. And that is, I've been doing the Zenithal highlighting. So basically, again, priming miniatures in black, and then taking all the miniatures outside and using another rattle can, because obviously I use a lot of rattle cans, and then just using sort of a white rattle can from above. Typically, I think it's going to be sort of 45-degree angle. Obviously, it's meant to represent the sun hitting the miniatures. And yeah, giving them a coating of white sort of paint. And as you can see, so what it does is it makes the top bits look nice and bright, but the underneath's still nice and dark. So I did have a few people mention why we've been doing the Zenithal one and not the Slapchop, and is there any difference in, well, how they sort of come out when you use the speed paints? So that's why we're here, and I thought I'd do a little video, little side by side. So I've got the two miniatures here. One's going to be slap chopped, and one's going to be the Zenithal, and then obviously I'm going to use the same sort of paints on each, just to see if there is really any difference. I know for me, when I'm doing like one or two miniatures at a time, say the slap chop, yeah, perfect. But for doing the 36 miniatures, again, say it doesn't take a lot longer, but it does take longer. So yeah, when doing a batch painting of 36 miniatures, you kind of want things to be a bit quicker. Obviously, it helps so I can put the miniature there in front of the camera and not to the side. Um, yeah, I did him, and I thought, well, his front still looks a little bit too dark. So again, just a little bit of a spray and a lower angle, still sort of say 45 degrees. But then as you can see, so looking from the front, yeah, you can see the dark and light areas. Looking from above, though, you can see it's definitely all white. Obviously, you can see that better coming up. But yeah, so the Zenithal, I'd say this is something I never really used to do. I always slap chopped my miniatures to get them ready to then obviously speed paint with speed paints and different inks. But yeah, for ease and time, it is definitely a lot quicker and faster doing a Zenithal thing. Especially if you've seen my new trays that I use that hold 12 miniatures at a time. So I can literally Zenithal highlight 12 miniatures in about 5-10 seconds, as opposed to slap chopping them, which it takes a lot longer. So for this, I thought I'd do the proper slap chop, because I kind of do half a slap chop. And the full one was priming in black, and then dry brushing with a grey, kind of like a mid-tone grey. So not light, not dark, just, well, in the middle. And then doing the dry brushing with white. Although this is the other thing I used to always hate, though, when doing this sort of thing, is I don't like wasting stuff. And I feel like you waste so much paint, because obviously you load up your dry brush, but then you you get most of it off, because obviously, well, you don't want too much paint on there, because that's the whole idea, and obviously the term, it's a dry brush. Although obviously it's not fully dry, there is a little bit of paint there. But yeah, there's always like obviously a lot of wasted paint, and that's something I don't like wasting stuff, but obviously I put up with it because obviously it gives great effects when it comes to painting miniatures. So I kind of just did it. Whereas now doing the Zenithal highlighting, there is no real wastage, which is pretty cool. So say that's him now dried with the grey, and then it is then a case of doing the white. Ideally, you want to do a little bit less with the white, but yeah, I kind of forgot about that bit and just went over it with the white. So pretty much covered most of the grey. And I think this is why I kind of like dropped doing the grey stage, say a good few years ago, just because it didn't really notice it. And I say the fact you go over the white, you pretty much cover up any bits of grey there might have been. So yeah, it doesn't take too long. Say doing single miniatures, slap chopping is awesome. So I've now got obviously the two miniatures ready to sort of do the speed painting with, and to sort of see how the paints come out over the top. Because obviously, as you can see, yeah, very different in their preparation. The Zenithal one, yeah, there's a lot of dark areas, obviously underneath where, well, where obviously I didn't reach with the rattle can. So from above, yeah, perfectly white. From underneath, there's definitely a lot of darker areas, which is cool because obviously that's the shaded areas. So you'd expect those to be dark. Before I get on and paint these miniatures, I just want to say this video is sponsored by Only Games Crates. I've been with them now, well, nearly a year, I guess. So every month I get a couple of boxes full of awesome little miniatures. I will leave links down below, guys. So each month you get to choose from sci-fi, fantasy, or even full color minis. As you can see, yeah, Indy, my little cat, she's always on my desk. So she's got bigger now. She can jump up real easy. So yeah, she's always having a little nose of what I'm doing. But obviously the miniatures that I'm using are these two, and they are from the fantasy range. As I say, I will leave a link down below to the actual website where you can find out more details. But say you've got the choice of the sci-fi, the fantasy miniatures, or even going for full color minis if, well, if you don't fancy painting miniatures. So when you subscribe, you also get 20% off accessories from high quality brands, and you also get 20% discount on the monthly creators. So each month, it's a couple of different creators. Obviously, always awesome miniatures. I must admit, I love love the miniatures, and obviously, I love to paint miniatures. So the more I can get, the better. They've also got a sale on for Halloween, so that'll be the end of this month, and there's also a sale coming up at the end of next month as well. So go check them all out. Right, so back to painting these two little chaps. And I'm going to be painting both of these with well, a combination of speed paints from Army Painter as well as dipping inks from Green Stuff World. And I say this is what I love. There's so many variations in the colours that I've never really had to sort of mix speed paints together to get different colours. As in, I've got a ton of browns, ton of oranges, ton of greens. But yeah, guys, let me know if you've ever mixed any of the paints together. Let me know because it's something I've never really tried. Should have a go, really, I guess. Sort of see what I come up with. Oh, the other thing, guys, my brush, for some reason, it started to separate. As you can see when I'm painting, it kind of splits down the middle. Not too sure why, because whenever I clean the brush and then dip it in the paint, it's always a nice thin sort of point. But then when I go to sort of paint, as you can see, it does like the little fork tongue. And yeah, guys, what do I need to do to sort of sort that out? I mean, to be fair, I think it was a relatively cheap brush anyway, and I've certainly had it a while. And obviously, I've certainly been painting a lot of miniatures over the last month or so since I got into the game of Pillage. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with my brush. Anyway, so obviously the plan here is to do similar colours on both the miniatures, just to sort of see how they sort of turn out and how they look once everything's done. So I'm also trying to use as many different colours as I can. Because the other thing, obviously, if you guys do use speed paints and dipping inks, I think more so with the speed paints, yeah, than dipping inks. But some of them work better than others, and by that I mean they pool in the recesses, so you've got a nice darker. So you've got basically more contrast in the paints. Is kind of what I'm trying to say. So yeah, with the speed paints, there's definitely some that work a whole lot better than others. Some of them seem to go on, and the coverage is too uniform, too the same. When it goes into the recesses, it doesn't go much darker than in the sort of the flatter areas. This isn't with all of them. I mean, we're talking. I think I've got about 60 odd speed paints, and there might be about 3 or 4 that aren't all the best. But I keep forgetting which ones they are. I really need to go through, see which ones are good, which ones aren't, and almost take away the ones that aren't as good, just so I don't really sort of mistakenly use them again. So say, yeah, using the same sort of paints, I'm trying to get a comparison. One thing I will say though, if you are a Army Painter speed paint user and you want to try out the Green Stuff World dipping inks, so the dipping inks I absolutely love because they definitely pool more and they all sort of pool into the recesses. But this is, I think, because they're a lot more fluid, they're a lot more sort of wetter. So when you do load up your brush, don't load it up as much as you would normally. Otherwise, you're going to have paint running all over the place. But again, that's why I think I kind of like the dipping inks really, probably a bit more than Army Painter. because they do pool really nice. Just be careful because they're very wet. So yeah, both miniatures. I mean, I love the look of these little miniatures. Obviously, Halloween coming up. I think the pumpkin cap is pretty cool. Kind of looks a little bit more like me, I think. Yeah, 'cause obviously you can't see if he's got any hair or not. He's got a hat. Although the one thing, obviously, I'm going to do again, guys, because obviously these two, great comparison, as you'll see at the end, just sort of what the differences are. But I think what I really need to do is have two miniatures, well, the same. And then you can really see like a comparison between one and the other, just how different the Slapchop sort of painting and or the Zenithal highlighting, how they really sort of like affect the miniature and the overall look of it. I say for me, getting into Slapchop, again, I'll say it's quite a bit every now and then. When I first started this channel 5 years ago, or over 5 years ago, I used to hate painting miniatures because basically I couldn't do it. Couldn't paint miniatures to save my life. They came out looking absolutely like a dog's dinner. Doesn't matter if I spent half an hour or 4 hours painting a miniature, it didn't get any better. In fact, I think the more I painted it, the worse it got. Slapchop came along, what, about 3 years ago? God, time don't know how to fly. Yeah, about 3 years ago, started Slapchop in miniatures, absolutely loved it. And then obviously painted tons and tons of miniatures. And as they say, the rest is history. But say, because I've now been doing a lot more of these sort of war bands, so rather than painting just a few miniatures like I used to, I'm now painting, well, batch painting sort of 32 or 36 miniatures in one go. And I say for me, speed is it's not the most important thing. But yeah, if I can make things a bit quicker and still get the results that I want, then that's what I'm going to do. And for me, yeah, the Zenithal highlighting to get the miniatures ready for painting is definitely quicker than dry brushing every single miniature itself. So yeah, right. So it didn't take too long to get these miniatures done. So I've used pretty much the same colours on both of them just to sort of see how they come out. Obviously, finished them up with a few little colours here and there, and a little bit of grass on the bases. Obviously, I love how both of these have come out. Um, I think it obviously depends on the kind of miniature you're using as well, so whether or not you're going to see much difference in these. Obviously, this guy, he doesn't really have many bits that are sort of hidden. I guess the underneath of the pumpkin could be one bit. And I mean, that's obviously the main difference in the prepping of the miniatures is any parts of them that have a lot of sort of underneath bits, like underneath this dude's rucksack. Obviously, when you do the Zenithal highlighting, that doesn't get hit at all. And I do like the fact that obviously it does have that nice sort of gradient from light to, well, it's almost pitch black. So that does make quite a big difference on that miniature. But say overall, both of them come out really, really well. Love how they look. So yeah, guys, I'm going to do another video and I'm going to get the same miniature and obviously do the exact same thing to see just exactly how they look. But again, for me, both ways are perfect. Love them. And obviously, I love painting miniatures. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Found it informative of some sort. Like, share, subscribe, leave comments. Bye.